Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. I'm excited all the time. The great speakers we have on these calls, it just makes my life friggin' wonderful because, not only am I bringing in great speakers for you guys, but I'm getting to meet people and make friendships and build my network by building relationships. And there's nothing more important than surrounding yourself with successful people. So make sure you're reaching out to people and don't chase the deal, but chase a relationship. Our guest speaker today is a young man that I had the pleasure to meet in Phoenix, Arizona. He's out of Pace Morby Sub-2 community. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about Pace Morby before. He is the premier genius in real estate finance in the country, which means the world. Pace's Sub-2 community is by far the number one real estate education platform in the country, bar none. Today, I am pleased to introduce to you guys a young man who at one point in time started as a student, became an investor, business owner, entrepreneur. He's now sharing knowledge. He's got his own platform on YouTube, and I believe he's also coaching. But more than that, the accolades of his accomplishments, I think what's really special about this young man is he's an absolutely genuine, wonderful person. My good friend, Mr. Eddie Marin. Eddie, how are you, my friend?
I am doing absolutely amazing, JJ. Thank you for that, my dude.
Brother, you are a freaking rock star, man. I freaking love you. Hey, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
So I live in Cave Creek, Arizona, which is right north Phoenix, Scottsdale area. It's actually Scottsdale a little further up south from me, but I'm in the Cave Creek, the cowboy area. That's where I like to be.
I love the sound of that, bro. I've been riding horses since I was 7 years old. I like to say I could ride anything to take a headstall.
Yeah,
So when you say cowboy, I'm like, let's rock and roll. Now, living in Phoenix, living in the Phoenix area proper, we know one another through real estate investment. That's our initial connection. And you've become, in my opinion, quite successful at a young age, which is very admirable. But let me ask you and we chatted a little bit the other day. Is real estate something you're doing in your teens and your 20s, or were you not into it till later? And if so, what were you doing in your teens and your 20s when you're, before you got into real estate? What's the things that made Eddie happy that you used to do and like to do, and how'd you spend your time?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. So I always loved the idea of real estate as as an entirety. Like, wow, I want to get into real estate one day. But I always thought you needed like millions of dollars to even get started. So I came from a background of playing baseball up until I injured my pitching arm or my throwing arm. And then my family came from Mexico, and we got into the car business, and that's what they all knew. And so that's where I kind of just sort of leaned into in a way. I always knew that I wanted to build a business, start a business, and always be a business owner regardless. Entrepreneurs, most people would say it. So I actually started when I turned 18. I worked at BMW North Scottsdale for about 2 years. After that, was going full-time at ASU to graduate. I went to ASU specifically for the networking aspect, not for the education aspect, right? The hanging out with people and whatnot. But as I graduated, after I got my associates, I went and started a dealership. And after I started the dealership, I was there for about 2 years as I finished my ASU graduate. And so that was my very first like actual legit business that we were operating in a way. Prior to that, we were doing like network marketing, multi-level marketing and stuff. And so what was interesting is that I was always in sales, but I was never a salesperson, if that makes sense. I'm definitely the more ask questions, give you what you're looking for, and love the connection that we've had and the problem solving overall. But I was never that pressure salesperson. I will say I'm an instigator in most of the cases, but in a good way. But I definitely love the problem solving for the most part. And then I went to life insurance for about a year. and a half after seeing all my friends going out and making boatload of money. And so I kind of already done a lot within such a small period of time. And then I actually met Cody Barton. I met Cody Barton when I was like 18 years old. And so Cody was at Vima, and so that's how him and I got connected. And then we did life insurance for a little bit, and then he left. And then I was like, I want tangible assets. I love cars. I love trucks. I love houses. And so that's what really brought me into the real estate world, where I went to Cody and I was like, Cody, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm wholesaling. And I was like, what is that? I started wholesaling, like he was kind of showing me what he was doing, but I didn't like, I was the one cold calling with my old partner, just cold calling like crazy. And I hated it. I hated cold calling. And so never got her deal. I went back into the car world because I needed to take care of some stuff. And then I did financing for a little bit. I had financed cars, and I made more money than I've ever made my entire life financing cars, even when I had the dealership. That's why I tell people all the time, it's like, look, you can be an entrepreneur or you can be an intrapreneur, right? You can make a lot of money, starting your own company, but most entrepreneurs only making, 60, 80 grand a year, where some W-2s are making, I was making 100 or over six figures in the auto world as a financer, making more than I ever was as owning my own dealership. But yes, you do have the title of being an entrepreneur, right? So I did that for about 2.5, 3 years. And then after that, that's when Tyler and I we went full in with Sub 2. That's when we were like, hey, let's get into the real estate world. You have money, I have money. We both have amazing credit. Let's just go into, because that's what we thought we needed was credit, right? Let's jump into the real estate world. And then I was like, but we're going to buy, not do the wholesale side of things. But then we joined Sub 2 and we realized how exciting and fun it is when you're hanging around the campfire, right? When I first started wholesaling, it was very lonely. It was very like, you couldn't really trust anybody. But then when I found out about Sub 2, that's when Tyler and I were both like, yo, let's go full force. And ever since then, we haven't looked back. I quit the job back in March of 2022 last year, and I've been full-time ever since. And now we're just cranking along. It's been fun.
That's awesome. So now, as you said, you met Cody Barton before he got with Pace. And for those who don't know, Cody Barton is Pace's partner. One of, Pace has many, many endeavors, but as far as the real estate and Sub 2 thing, for the most part, Pace and Cody teamed up fairly early on in the development of Sub 2. And you've mentioned Tyler, and that you and Tyler kind of moved into this venture. Let's talk about Tyler for a second. Tyler's your business partner, correct?
Yep, that's right.
So how did you guys meet?
I always tell this joke that I picked him up on the side of a corner. He was showing some leg, and I was like, all right, dude, looks like you need a job.
He's got nice ankles. I know that. Yeah.
But no, funny thing is we went to high school together, but he was a grade younger than I was. Funny thing is we're only 3 months apart. So I'm young for my
class,
my class. And then he was old for his class. So, but we didn't really hang out at all in high school. I was definitely, you would look back and be like, who are you? Be a completely changed person. We started hanging out when we were at 18, 19 years old in Vima, when we all met Cody, actually. So that's when him and I really started becoming really close friends, best friends. We did everything together. And then ever since that, we've been brothers from another mother ever since.
Now, let's talk about the Bash Brothers, because that's how you were introduced to me. I thought, cool. And you guys are like you guys got to be like a wrestling tag team because you're both fitting in shape. But how did you guys come up with the nickname, and how did that come about? I mean, you guys got started together, but then eventually you guys kind of took off. How did the Bash Brothers come about? And for those that don't know, what do the Bash Brothers specialize in?
Yeah. So funny thing is that so last year Tyler and I did 75 hard for the first time. I just recently broken up with a relationship, and so I was like, yo, let's do 75 hard. Let's get in the best shape ever, right? So we wanted to promote discipline and discipline, and let's do it. So we did 75 hard. So we were always in the gym or always doing a workout on these like Q&A Zooms with Pace. Because back when we joined, there was I think total 1,400 students at the time. And so it was like a very, the Q&A is very, personable, right? And so we were there. We'd always be there. We'd always try to get on stage. And so then when Pace was barely getting added to all of these like speaking events, right? Tyler and I would be like his little fangirls. Like I say that in the nicest way possible, but we'd follow him everywhere because we just wanted to be around proximity, right? We wanted to show Pace that we were here to support and we're here to grow with them and we're here to, push as much as we could. And so we were there at like literally every speaking engagement he was at, we were there. Every situation, we were there. I would leave my work early at the time. I would do everything I could just to be there. And so eventually we were at this event of like 400, 500 people here in Phoenix. And Pace was one of the speaking panels. And Tyler and I sat at the very front and a lady asked like, hey, like what's your DTS? Like what's the objection? How do you handle objection of like debt to income or DTI income ratios? So then Pace goes, you know what? I'm not even going to answer that. Like I have a lot of sub 2 students in my audience, and I want you to pair up with my sub 2 students and ask them the questions because that's what I trained them on. And so then he literally looks over and he looks, we have the freaking Bash Bros over here. And so Tyler and I literally just sitting there like this, and we look at each other and we're just like, oh, that's the name. That's us right there.
Cool.
And so, yeah, so Pace is the one that actually gave us that. We ran with it. And ever since we ran with it, the rest is history, man. And so now we were doing wholesaling originally. We originally started doing a lot of direct to seller. So we started with a VA first, and then, we were getting the glimpse of it, and then it was cool. We did a few deals here and there in 2021 and in 2022, we started implementing helping other and partnering with other sub 2 students, non-sub 2 students get their first deals and whatnot. And that's what really took us off, is that's where most of our deal flow was coming, was helping other people negotiate subject to, negotiate creative finance, negotiate cash. And, that's mainly where the majority of our business. So then we did our first virtual flip, our very first virtual, we're in Arizona, remember that. So we bought a deal out in Eflin, North Carolina, and we partnered with another sub 2 mastermind student, and the project brought in 103 grand for our first virtual flip,
Wow.
And then ever since that, we're like, okay, virtual stuff isn't that bad. All you need to know is you need to be partnered with the right people, the right community. And so you'll be golden. So then we just started doing a bunch of deals everywhere. And now at this point, we're like, okay, great. We're doing the wholesaling. We're making the, hits here and there. But now it's like, how can we get cash flow and build it without having to like babysit, right? And what I mean about babysit, there's different seasons in everybody's investments. It's like, what do you want, right? I want freedom to a point of I get to look and underwrite a deal and buy it and then put my team to it. They sell it. They get a piece of the pie as much as we do. And then at that point, we generate this cash flow. Sure, there's depreciation aspects of owning properties and stuff. So we get to cherry pick, right? So now what we're focusing on is wrapping. We're buying a bunch of deals and we're wrapping around and creating the cash flow. Like we just found this last week or so, we found buyers for 2 of our wraps, and we're adding $627, I think it was, for one wrap. And then when we're getting, again, remember, we invested all our money in, and not all, but we raised capital for this deal, and then we got it all back. We're getting it all back at closing, and we added the $627 of cash flow to this property that we don't have to fix anything to, right? We just created a note. And so then at that point, we did that with our Buckeye property as well. We're in and out of that deal. We actually I think we're making like 3 or 4 grand on that deal. Our California deal that we just got, we actually make about, I think, 12 grand on it because we front funded a lot of it at the very beginning, but we held on to the property trying to find a buyer. So there's a lot of learning lessons to a lot of this stuff, right? And so ever since we're that's where we're focusing right now. We own 5. We sold 2 so far. We still got 3. One of them is litigation, but the other ones or in eviction. But the rest, we're just cranking, dude. And doing a lot of wholesale stuff too.
So you're doing a combination of cash flow investments. Now, are these are also you're buying whole? These are the ones that you're owning?
So we're only going to choose to own in areas that we want to own in. Obviously, anywhere in Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, anywhere in the Maricopa Valley. Florida, there's places in Florida that we would own, Tampa, Orlando. But we're being super cherry picking on the deals that we actually buy. Everything else, we will still buy it, but we're going to wrap it if it doesn't make sense to what we want. Right.
Exactly.
So if we're only going to cash flow $200 or $150 on a regular long term, but if we wrap it, we can cash flow $600, $700, $800 on it, we're going to wrap it.
Lucas Burnett, you are on with Eddie Marin. What's your question?
Eddie, brother, what's going on, man?
What's cracking, brother? How are you?
Man, just another day in paradise. So I have a question for you. Since you and I are kind of on the same path right now, both primarily doing raps. One thing I haven't really, I've only done two sub twos so far. Okay. Working on my third right now.
Nice.
My first one's cash flowing deal. It's like $300. I was actually lucky to do anything at all with that deal because it was actually the deal that got me into sub two because I just didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Yep. The second deal was the house I'm living in right now. I don't know if you were around when Pace came down here to Arkansas and helped me out with getting out of homelessness, but that was an amazing Thanksgiving, probably the best I've ever had. And then this one I'm working on right now, the lady is trying to pre-qualify a bank loan for the $10,000 down. Have you dealt with that very much? People trying to get bank loans for the down payment? Because with my first rap, he had that money saved up, right? So I've never experienced this before, and if you have any experience with that, could you just tell me what your experience with that is?
So I haven't had everybody's paid cash for it realistically, but I had people really want houses that we want, and I've had them go talk to lenders and stuff like that as well. There's nothing wrong with them getting that down payment up front, right? But one thing is, it's like, if you're going to do more than 5 a year, you have to be like this. I talked to Scott Horn for about an hour and a half on the phone with Ingrid. And so he gave us basically the ins and outs of creative finance, wrapping, sub twos and stuff like that. He handled a lot of our concerns on a lot of the stuff. And what most people have, like, we were just buying like crazy. And he even told us, he goes, yo, you need to just calm down, learn the process on everything that you were doing, and then attack. But every state has different regulations and restrictions when it comes to seller financing. So when they pull a loan out, just know that when they go get an RMLO done to it, that loan payment is going to show up on their credit report as well, right? So they're gonna. The only thing that you don't want is where, if they make enough income, then you're still fine. You're golden, right? Mm-hmm. But if for any reason, if they get this $10,000 loan and their payment is now $500 a month, but they go get an RMLO and the RMLO says, hey, you just don't qualify anymore because your debt to income is way too much. You know, you don't have the ability to repay this loan. Then guess what? Then that buyer technically doesn't even work for you anymore. But if they make the income, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with them getting a loan. I mean, do you care where they get the money from personally?
Right. And see, that's what I was kind of curious about. I was wondering if that would affect anything, especially towards I guess you could say the lines of the dual and sell clause. I know it's not that serious of a thing. I know a lot of people freak out about it, but I do know there are things that can trigger it, obviously.
Well, you know what, guys, let me jump in for a second. So, Eddie, the question here, is this something that is commonly seen or not commonly seen? And is this something that is maybe one should be ideally open to, or maybe be a little bit reluctant to consider?
It's not something that's common, quite honestly, but it's not uncommon either, right? So the thing is, it's like when most buyers talk with people, what are they saying? They're saying, hey, bring me this much money down, right?
Mhm.
it's not up to us to figure. I mean, obviously they can't pay cash, so it's got to be registered somehow, right? So with that, it's like one of those things where it's like it doesn't matter where that money comes from for us. Whether you go cash out your credit card somehow or some way, you go get a loan from somewhere, you go to Bank of America, whatever it may be that you get. It's really, to me, it's like, I'm asking for 10 grand. Cool. Bring me the 10 grand. Now, should you be reluctant? I don't see an issue with it. I would still confirm with maybe an attorney, but I haven't run into that problem, and I don't see why there would be even a problem towards that, because realistically, I mean, hey, you're going to go get a loan to go buy this house. What's the wrong? And as far as like the due on sale, though, by the way, you're saying it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal, but it's not something to be afraid of. Does that make sense?
That's actually what I meant. Pace has taught us, as well as I do.
Yeah.
Pace has taught us how to overcome that in most situations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, what I just meant by this is, kind of what JJ was saying there. Is there anything to be cautious, to kind of take caution when they want to go get a loan like that? I didn't really see a problem, just simply because since I'm the lien holder, I'm subtoing the property from the seller and then turn around and I'm selling it on owner financing to the end buyer, no deed of trust or mortgage, depending on your state. I'm not owning the property anymore. They're in ownership of the property.
There's nothing wrong with it.
But their loan is being paid to me, so it shouldn't affect their DTI, because the only loan that should show where it counts is the loan they're getting to pay the down payment to me, right? Because I'm not going to deny them, because I'm not looking at their DTI. All I'm worried about is that 10 grand in my pocket. And ability to pay.
But here's an underwriter, the way they underwrite debt to income, they underwrite their payments on their credit report.
Mm-hmm.
And then they underwrite based off of whatever your payment is to that, or their payment to you. Right. So if you're charging them $1,000, right, and they go get a $10,000 loan, if it doesn't show in that period of time, right, if it doesn't show on their credit, then you're still golden. It's only going to appear as the $1,000 payment plus whatever else is on their credit. But if they go get a $10,000 loan, they wait the 30 days, and next thing you know, it's showing on their credit that they have a $500 payment. Well, guess what? Their debt to income is now based off of $1,500, because it's $500 from their $10,000 loan, and then that $1,000 towards your payment, right? So you may not turn them down, but the RMLO might say, "Hey, their debt to income just shot up, and now it's more than what they can afford." So that's what I mean about that, right?
Okay.
But I don't see a big issue with it. I don't see there's no uncommon, but I would still confirm with an attorney. Again, guys, I'm not an attorney. I've talked to a lot of attorneys, especially before we got into the rap game, just because I'm one of those people that Tyler's the guy that just jumps off a plane, and I'm the guy that jumps off a plane with him. But as long as I have the bolts and everything to make sure we can build a wing on the way down. Right. I just don't. I've had that dealership before. I've had legal situations before, and it's not fun. So it's better just to protect every aspect of yourself and not open up the liabilities that can cause, because you are technically a loan originator after 5 of these loans that you originate per year.
Really quick, Eddie, before we get on to the next question, we're dealing with real estate. We're dealing with thousands to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars of real estate. So it's always recommended that we have an attorney on our team, maybe not one that we have a retainer with, but when we have a relationship with. How often do you review paperwork with the attorney that you guys are in communication with?
Depends on the transaction, right? If we're just wholesaling, we don't really review it. Let's go, let's move it along. Every state has different wholesaling guides and stuff like that, right? But when it comes to wraparound mortgages, like, for example, all our wraps right now that we're going to be doing, we've already done one wrap that wasn't actually any seller finance transactions, right? That we buy, seller finance. we'll just close on a traditional title company. We're good. But any subject to acquisitions that we do, purchase subject to, and we wrap that, we're going to Horn and Associates, just because they're nationwide. They can handle the disclosures, and they're very good at disclosures. And right now, he's the guy that, he's the attorney that I was introduced to, and I did a lot of research on different attorneys and stuff, and he does kind of it all because he's in the game himself. So there is no better person, in my opinion, to go with someone that's actually doing it consistently, making sure the disclosures are there to protect yourself in the long term. So in the event something were to happen, now they can't guide you if they're closing the transaction, but you can ask them outside of the transaction to say, hey, what would this look like, right? Or how does this look like? So every state that we do, I'm very good. I'm very good at researching certain things. I spend a lot of time on researching just legalities and laws like the SAFE Act, the Dodd-Frank Act. I'm pretty familiar with the Dodd-Frank Act now, but the SAFE Act, each state has a different SAFE Act. And so it's, like Tennessee has very strict seller finance laws outside of Dodd-Frank, right? And so we have one in Knoxville, and that's probably going to be one and only one that we're going to be doing a lot of wraps in Tennessee, is just because Tennessee overall has some strict seller financing restrictions. Okay. And so I haven't consulted with an attorney in Tennessee just yet, and I will be as soon if another deal that's presents to us in a way. But besides that, I mean, I would say anytime you aren't sure of a state that you haven't done business in and you're not sure how the transaction works, I always go to a student that's known to be doing deals and those kinds of transactions in that area. And then after that, I would, if you don't feel 100% confident still, then at that point, I would invest the $300 to $500 or whatever it is that you're going to have to go to and talk with an attorney that's known to handle those kinds of transactions for sure.
And this is all part of doing one's due diligence.
1000%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we got another question coming in here. Let's see here. Carlos Camarena, you are on with Eddie Marin. What's your question?
What's going on, guys? Hey, JJ, thanks again for putting this on. Eddie, hopefully something that will segue back from JJ's focus on relationships and building. Hopefully this can help both you and kind of JJ as well. I'm shifting, and some of the folks here I see that are Gators as well, shifting a little bit from the transactional nature of Gators, putting funds out, getting funds back, but we really don't, in most deals, get to stay part of that. So I'm shifting towards funding wraps in exchange for a portion of the cash flow split. How do you like to safely secure and work with your, capital partners or lenders? Because I'm about to head into funding another sub-2 student's wrap entry fee in exchange for a portion of the down payment difference and then for a portion of the cash flow as well. However, one thing that I'm new to, everything I've done up to this point has been title company through something with that neutral third party, title or escrow. But the holding costs, since they're taking over a mortgage sub-2, where do those go? And how do you like to work with your private lenders and capital partners on when you're using them for wraps and entry fees?
So great question. We have different options that we give our lenders that we work with, right? So when we first got started, we were just more like, hey, we're going to be able to move your money every 3 to 6 months or so. Use that same 30,000 or same 40,000 or 20,000 and just move it over. Now, for us, we actually front fund a lot of our projects. So when we front fund, as Pace talks about, like, oh, if you're buying a flip, assign your contract to your flip company and then pay your wholesale company an assignment so you can still market over here, but you still get paid the 10,000 up front, but then at this point over here, you are, doing your flip, right? It's so similar to that, but except it's more like we started using it as more as a reserve, right? So we always reserve 6 months worth of payments, or where we learn very quickly that you need to reserve 6 months worth of payments, especially on a wraparound mortgage. Because you don't know how fast you're going to find your end buyer, right? And especially like the second you buy it, you start marketing. The second you get it, like you rock and roll, get it ready, because like for us, we were paying $8,600 in our mortgages, and I totally forgot about this other mortgage that we were paying for $1,000 a month. But $9,600 a month we were paying in mortgages every single month, and that's what it's bleeding. You're bleeding, right? Because $9,600
in holding costs, like while you're marketing deals, is that what you mean?
Yeah, you got mortgages. Yeah. we had a mortgage of 2350. We had a mortgage of 1536. We had a mortgage of 1260. We had a mortgage of, we have all these different mortgages like due every month, right? And so that's what most people, when people are like, I'm going to jump into wraps. Okay, great. You jump into wrap doesn't mean you're going to find a buyer right away, right? It's going to typically take you minimum of 3 months up to a 6 month term. Now you're housing that. That's why we front fund, right? So like if I come to you and I'm like, Carlos, hey, you want to fund our deal? And you're going to say, sure. What does the numbers look like? I tell you the number breakdown. I'm like, we're raising 30 grand. 20 grand is our entry fee or down payment to our, let's just say, our most recent one that we just got was 10 grand down to the seller. And it's going to be like 5 grand in closing costs. And then at that point, if we decide to buy it, we're going to raise $25,000 on that one. And when we raise 30,000, because we're paying a $5,000 assignment. So it'd be 30 grand. But because that extra, $5,000 to $10,000, that's going to cover any miscellaneous and holding costs. That's going to require us to make sure that when we go sell it, by the time we sell it, we're not coming out of our own pocket every month.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
That's what it's called, front funding. And you're fronting your thing.
So you're planning to borrow more than you're planning for that 6 month period when you're raising for it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not, you should be cautious. Unless you're sitting on a large nest egg of cash that you're just like, all right, I don't care, I can house 6 months of my own cash. We don't like to use our own cash for any of it, right?
Right.
So that's why we front fund.
Got it. Solid. I appreciate you. Thanks for answering that, Eddie.
Yeah, you got it.
Adam Husani, you are on with Marin. What's your question?
Hey, Eddie. Good to meet you, man. Thank you for your time today. I had a question. I'm in the process of doing my first wrap. It's a listed property on the MLS, and it's a pre-foreclosure, and it's going to require about $30K to close the deal between arrears, closing costs, and the agent's fee. My question, I guess a two-part question, is in terms of finding a buyer, this particular property has a little bit of hair on it. It's got some issues in the basement, like waterproofing and foundation. We have an idea on what the cost would be, but it's going to be about 30 to 40K. My worry is this house does not work as anything else. It doesn't work as a long-term rental. It's not short-term rentable, Airbnb. It has to be a wrap or nothing. So I think I'm a bit hesitant because having not done the process, I don't have like buyers, kind of lined up to buy it. If we do close, and we do have two potentials, but like, I guess what I'm worried about is we buy this thing sub 2, and then we're at a point we can't sell it on a wrap. Is that just like a mental hang up I need to get past? And the second question is, if a house has a little bit of hair on it, like, some structural issues, whatever, in terms of its sellability on a wrap, have you had any experience on like, is that just not marketable or is it kind of overcomable?
Good questions. So I'm going to start with your first question. So one thing first is each county has different restrictions some of them don't even have restrictions to selling a property, right? Like we were going to buy a property in Beechwood, Ohio, and it needed a lot of work. And in order for her to sell me the house, the work needed to be done, or I sign a piece of paper saying that I'm going to get the work within the next 90 days, right? Or 180 days. I'm going to get it completed. And if it doesn't, then I get penalized. So you want to make sure you're not in one of those counties that require pre-inspection sale of the property. 2, if you're going to go with a wraparound, if your entry fee is already 30 grand and you haven't saved up your 6 months reserves, and on top of that, you have some foundational or like very, very visible, like, hey, like this looks pretty, like this is a bad foundation issue, then I stay away from those personally, because I just don't want to house that problem myself. Now, if I was buying the house for $0 out of pocket and there's some foundational cracks and stuff like that, yeah, by all means, then I'd be more willing to buy it for sure. But if it's already costing me 30 grand plus I have to save up, or I still have to set aside my 6 months worth of holding cost, and on top of that, I have the possibility that this may or may not sell. It's for me to tell you it's not a deal or it is a deal. It's it depends on what price you're getting it. Are you buying it with equity or not? Do you have room to negotiate in the event you can't find a wrap buyer? Do you have room to negotiate down so you can find a wrap buyer that's willing to put up more money down and just lower the price a little bit, keep your terms in? There's just so many different factors to tell you like whether or not it's a deal for us or not. And if I don't like one exit strategy situations personally, I like to have at least a second exit in mind. Now, given some of the properties that we have purchased have only been for wraps and stuff, but just know that if it doesn't sell, you have to either have equity in the deal to negotiate the price down a little bit, or you have to have something where you have the ability to offload the property and not hold on to those, not hold on to that monthly holding cost that you're going to continue paying, because that comes out of your pocket, right?
Right.
So there's just some factors there to deal with that. But personally, I don't like we passed on a property that had a slight foundational crack in the back of the house. It was going to cost us it wasn't even that bad. It was going to cost us 18 grand because it needed a new water pump underneath the house that would take all the water out from sitting, which is what caused the house to kind of inch down a little bit enough to cause that foundational cracking. So the crack itself was going to be 10 grand. And then the fix of the water pump was going to be 18. It was another 8 grand. So $18,000. And our entry fee was decent. It wasn't that bad, but we were just like, I'd rather not deal with it. It would have cash flow probably $500 a month, which is our bare minimum. And so that's my answer there for that one.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Eddie, okay, we just brought on your partner, Tyler Townsley of the Bash Brothers. Tyler, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I wanted to talk to both of you guys for a second. And know that there's always different aspects of the business when people become partners. Do you guys have a particular specialty, one of you versus the other, that one guy handles one thing, one guy handles something else? How do you guys maybe split up your duties or work the responsibilities of the company into your own respective strengths?
Yeah, great question. So it's switched since we first got into business. We had different roles in the beginning, and we were trying to figure out what made sense for each person. And so initially it was, we were both doing acquisitions and didn't have anyone to dispo. We were sending all of our deals to someone else to dispo. We didn't know how to dispo. And then it transitioned into me going to dispo and then him doing acquisitions and TC stuff. And after that, we brought a third partner in. Things kind of got mixed up. Third partner was doing acquisitions. I was doing dispo. Eddie was doing TC. And now we switched again. So Eddie is doing dispo and more TC, initial TC work. We'll still pay TCs to do their stuff. And now I'm doing more of the acquisitions. And we found that by him being in dispositions, it's a lot easier because when we're trying to sell these wrap deals, there's a lot of Spanish people looking for these houses. I don't speak Spanish. So I would have to make this ad and say, hey, Eddie, go respond to these people on my Facebook Messenger because I don't know what they're saying. I can't read it. You do all that. And so we're like, why are we doing this? Why don't you just handle the dispo? I'll handle all of the acquisition stuff. And anytime we need TC stuff, we'll just hire.
Yeah. That and also we did hire on a new dispo manager that is bilingual as well. His name's Eduardo. I think he's on here as well, or was on here. But yeah, he handles a lot of the disposition. And again, guys, when people are like cut and dry, Tyler and I are very both visionaries on everything that we do. So it's not really it's not like, hey, you're only strictly dispo and you're only strictly acquisitions. We're a team, right? If I, like today, we had a Spanish lead get sent over to us, right? To try to call in and talk. Well, guess what? Obviously Tyler can't speak Spanish. So then the Spanish speakers would handle that. So if I still jump on calls with agents. I still jump on calls with sellers. Tyler still sells deals. Like but our main priority of our companies and our roles are these, right? I'm handling Dispo and more of the systems and back end stuff I'm handling a lot of the integration stuff on the back end stuff, including dispositions and stuff. And then Tyler's handling more of the acquisitions. And if we need to, the disposition as well, if he already has a buyer. Because it's very quick, we're so involved in the community that we know what people are wanting to buy and who's buying in what areas. So it's easy for us to just say, hey, JJ, are you looking for a property in California? And JJ's like, oh yeah, I've been looking for one. All right, cool. Here's this. This is what we're looking for. JJ's like, yeah, let's do it. Boom. And then Tyler's like, hey, write up this contract. It's already sold to JJ. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Simple as that. Right. But that's the power of networking. That's the power of knowing, like, don't limit yourself to one thing. Like, know that that's not your role, but just understand that if you can have the knowledge and the experience in the connection, the network to know that, hey, JJ is buying in California, or JJ is buying in Arizona, then it's easy. It makes everybody's life 10 times easier. It's like Tyler and I don't keep score on each other, right? That's number one. Like, there's times that I'm not gonna show up for a week, meaning that I'm not gonna be mentally here. I'm gonna be burnt out or whatever it is. And there's times that Tyler's burnt out for a week or a couple of days or a day or so. We're gonna pick each other's slack up no matter what. Right. So that's the part of partnership. It's very rare that we have a lot of slack, but realistically it's, and I say that in the most like humble way, but realistically, that's what it is of starting your own company, operating, especially with a partner, especially with another visionary. That even Pace talked about how when we first went to our first mastermind was, you two aren't going to make it together. And we were like, all right, we'll see. And then the other day, Pace was just like, yeah, we knew the third partner wasn't going to be there, but you guys were like something different.
You guys started off, you guys have moved into wraps. The Bash brothers have become very well known within Sub 2. And Tyler, congratulations on you guys launching your YouTube channel. Would like to promote you guys. And I'd like to share Tyler's with us for a second here and kind of promote what you guys are doing. So Tyler, here we have your YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to hit subscribe.
I appreciate that.
And if you guys are on the call right now, if you're watching on YouTube, please open up his YouTube channel. It's at the Tyler Townsley. It is of the name Tyler Townsley. Please subscribe to his channel. Please support him and follow him and see all the stuff they've got going on and what they're going to be coming on as they develop more and more content. You've got 33 videos and already 132 subscribers. That's awesome. So congratulations with that, my friend. That looks really good.
Thank you. Thank you. The goal is to start getting out one to two videos a week.
Eddie, I want to get back to, you guys have done so phenomenally with what you're doing. You're recognized throughout Sub 2. What's in the future for you guys? I mean, is it next 3 months, 6 months, year? What's your plans down the way? Or have you not thought that far? You're just sort of handling things as they're coming along. What's the plans for you, Eddie, individually, and for the Bash brothers?
So our goal by the end of the year is to get to 50,000 in net cash flow every month. Realistically,
every month. You said every month.
Yeah, 50,000 every month, right?
Wow.
So if you work it backwards, that's going to not just be a mix of wraps. Wraps, we wanted to get to about 10 grand a month in net cash flow as fast as we can get there. But we're almost perfecting like our strategy as far as like how the process works, where when we buy a wrap, we can literally have the people in-house just take the instruction manual of what we're building to how to proceed with the wrap to the point of finding the buyer, underwriting the buyer, and placing the buyer, and then post-sale of the buyer. Right. So we're kind of perfecting that part within our own company, within ourselves, with all the experiences that we're having. That way we can look at a deal and say, we're going to buy it, and then get the money in place. And then next thing you know, it's like, we just pass it on to the team and then let them handle it. Right. So that's what we're really making focus on doing, like our wrapping right now, where we want to get to about 10 grand a pop in cash flow each. So it'd be 20,000 total. And then the other 30 come from either short-term rentals, come from, whatever other net cash flow we can get to.
Wow. So, you guys have been recognized by Pace, and that's a given as far as people that know stuff too. If people are new and they have any questions, are you guys coaching at all, or have you considered coaching, or maybe providing a side service if people need to come for any consultation? Maybe not coaching, but consultation. Have you guys thought about that? Consider that? Are you doing anything like that?
Honestly, that's a great idea. We typically, the way we coach, the way we consult with people is typically say, hey, if you want help, if you want any necessity or anything like that, feel free to, we'll answer any questions. Super simple, super sweet. But here's the thing about like JVs, right? And so we JV a lot. And so we've learned a lot on how to handle JV, and JV just means joint ventureship with people that are trying to get the first deal, people that are learning the rap, people that are not even the first deal. It can be their 10th or 20th deal. We've JV'd with people that are doing, like, been in the industry for 8-10 years, And so we're talking like, if you have a question for us, text us, right? If you're like, hey, I got a deal, can you get some second eyes on it? We're all about like working and educating people. But the one thing is we're not open to is doing free work for people, right? So the free work is where a lot of people, when you're open, what we learned is that we like to give our time away a lot. Okay. Pace talks about this. He actually talked to us about this, like person to person, is that you give a lot of time away to people, but the challenge is that most of these people are only asking questions on deals they've never done or are currently trying to do or not doing. But because you're doing all that, you giving free time away in a way versus someone saying, hey, I got a deal here. Can you help me push it through the finish line? Or can you help me? I'm thinking about doing a wrap here. Or, hey, can you help me do this? Or like, hey, let's learn. I'm willing to invest into this deal to learn together. As a matter of fact, I think Chelsea's on here or was on here. But Chelsea just brought us her first deal, or brought a deal to us in Utah that we just got under contract at $0 down, $14,000 to the agent. And, she's going to get her first assignment contract with us. But guess what? Do you know what she said? Literally her message is like, hey, what happens from this point on? She's excited. What happens from this point on? Then we walk her through this entire process of how the transaction looks like, right? That is what a true JV would look like for people. But if I've had people call me, text me nonstop. And then I've even negotiated deals for people just to be nice. And they say, oh, I know who you are. I've heard about you. You're phenomenal, blah, 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 this, that. I negotiate the contracts, get things pretty much done. And then they're like, yeah, I'll pay you for your time. And then towards the end, they're like, hey, like, thank you for your help. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And my problem is that the issue is that you always want to have everything in writing prior. But I'm a giver in a sense of like, I'm going to get to it. And my expectance of you saying like, hey, like, you're going to keep your word, but then you're retracting your words from like when you finally get the result, right? So that's the part where I'm like, look, we created this bridge. I'm never going to burn the bridge. I'm just going to choose never to cross the bridge again with you. So it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, if you want to work together, let's work together. If you have questions, actually, Jose on here, we met him at a Clever Investor event almost like a year ago. And we talked about creative finance. Jose and I have like hour conversations about everything, right? He asks me about creative finance all the time. He brings us deals to underwrite and look for, right? He brings us deals on how to structure, how to work deals. And Jose, have I asked for anything in return? Really?
Absolutely not.
And here's the thing though, right? In return, we have our Lucerne property that we finally found a wrap buyer. And so there's seller disclosures that in California you need to provide. And guess who I called? Jose's an agent out in California. So I was like, yo, Jose. And he was just like, yo, send me the stuff, send me the offer. I'll look at it for you. I'll let you know if it's a good deal. And he was giving back like nobody, like he didn't ask for anything. He was just like, dude, I'll do it just to learn. I'll do it just to help out because you've helped out to me, right? That's the partnerships that we work for. That's the partnerships that we like to help. So to answer your questions about coaching and more like, what do you call it? Coaching and
consultation.
Consultation. Our consultations are bring us a deal to work on together, and we'll teach you the entire thing that we know, that we've experienced, what we're going to save you, what you're not going to save you, or things that we're going to learn together. That's the consultation fee that we basically charge.
And I think that's phenomenal because, in my opinion, I tell the newer investors, don't chase a deal, chase a relationship. Don't be concerned with your amount of profit. You're better to team up with someone like the Bash Brothers, get them to come on your team, get the deal done right, properly, learn from them. Don't worry how much you're going to make, because as you treat them right, as you're doing the deal with them now and joint venturing with them, you're now building the relationship. You're chasing the relationship, not the deal, because there's always going to be another deal. But if you don't treat the relationship right, there's not always going to be the continuation of the relationship. And, when I say consultation, I was thinking of, I'm an administrative guy. That's my power. Thinking that, have a process. Well, if you'd like us to help you, this is, either we're joint venturing together or our fee would be this. But obviously, time is money. And when people are experienced like you guys, time is money. If they're coming for a reason, is because you're accomplished and successful. So if people do want to reach out to you guys, what's the best way? Is it MySpace, TikTok? I know Tyler's a big MySpace guy.
I got my top 5 friends on there.
Is it Instagram, Facebook? Yeah, you guys got a website. What's the best way to reach out to you guys?
Our phone, that's my real personal phone number, guys. You can text me on there and whatnot. And also you can reach out. That's my Instagram handle right there as well. Instagram or texting. Texting is literally the best way, because I will mark my if I read it and I'm busy and I can't, it's going to be a lengthy response. I'll place it on unread to make sure I don't forget about it. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I get sidetracked and I will forget about it. Just remind me, right? Right now I have about just by standing here, I got 13 messages from the time I was just standing here. From the time I walked out and came back in. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, just respond, message me, ask questions. I'm here to help out as much as I can. One thing I will say, guys, is when you're raising, I get the most common question I get in messages, or one of the most common stuff, and I tell people all the time, is private money, right? People ask me about my wraps and private money. People are like, hey, I need private money right away. Be very cautious with private money, because the one thing I learned, my uncle made a lot of money in real estate. And the one thing he said is your lenders are your best friends. They are your bloodline. They are everything in your real estate community. So one of the biggest things I tell people all the time is like, hey, if you're going to be raising private capital or anything like that, and you're going to come and you're going to ask me for our lenders, remember something. I built a really strong rapport and relationship with our lenders, that I will go to blood and battle to make sure that they get their money back. And even if a deal loses money at first or anything like that, I'll make sure to pull profits from other deals to pay them back what they were already expected to be paid for. And they won't lose their initial principal, right? A lot of people don't understand that concept. And so therefore, I just don't put my name out there for private money unless I know that I would lend my own money to that deal, right? So if you're going to text me about asking for if you need private money or anything like that, by all means, I'll help you as much as I can, and I'll tell you whether or not. But for the most part, we are very, just like a lot of people are. We are very cautious, and we're very, we've seen deals go down. We've seen deals go up. We've seen deals amazing, but just know that we're here to make sure that we're going to give back as much. And I say this because there's going to be people outside the Sub-2 community, and there's people inside the Sub-2 community. And there's a lot of people outside the Sub-2 community that ask me for private money all the time. And I typically just tell them the same thing. So I just wanted to say that out here. If you're going to have my number, that's one of the most frequent questions I get is private money. I need private money for my deals, for my wrap deals. I need it. Can you help me find it? I need so much money, right? And it's just, I just don't want you to waste your time in the event if you're looking for a quick, hey, I just need the money because I don't want to get paid kind of deal, right?
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand with what I say all the time is chase relationship, don't chase the deal. If you guys want to do business with Eddie and Tyler, the Bash Brothers, get to know them. Want to do business with anybody, get to know them. But when you're just coming to a successful investor with your hand out because you wanted something, and you're not taking the time to get to know them, you're doing the complete wrong approach on your business. Eddie, I want to thank you guys for being on today. We're going to go to the breakout rooms really quickly. Tyler, if you can hang with us, that'd be great. Again, if people want to reach you, it's through Facebook or your cell phone, or is there a Facebook or Instagram or preference for you?
Both of them are that my name on Facebook is literally facebook.com/Eddie G. Marin. Instagram, the same thing, Instagram.com/Eddie G. Marin. Those are both my handles to find me on Facebook and Instagram.
Fantastic. Guys, if you want to get in touch with me in the future, jjzzian.com is my website. Please click the pulsating register now button, register for the group. If you're watching on YouTube, please like the video. Please like Eddie's video. Please put some comments down there to support him and support the video. If you're on the call right now, do not go away. We're going to go to some live breakout rooms. We got both the Bash brothers here. We're going to try and get you guys hooked up with a little bit of interaction with them if you can get in the right room. And Eddie, I guess right here, we just say thank everybody for joining us today. And you guys, thanks for being with us. Appreciate you guys being here. And we'll see them next time around, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
That's right. Thank you guys for coming out again.
Thanks, everybody.